Do you want me there?
Hello and welcome. We are now live on YouTube. It's really a pleasure to have you. Lovely to have two new friends to the show. Vipula Sharma, who is pretty much legendary everywhere from Monaco to Malaysia, and Claudia, who is from Garden International in Kuala Lumpur, same school as me. And she's the one who's brought today's topic and has got quite a few really good questions for us to have. So we've tried to gather together the best international team that we can to help answer those questions. And to start with, and I'll pick on Seti to start with, we just want to go with your wow moment of the week. And I think I know what yours is, but let's find out.
Yeah, well, I've got it's a double wow. So the first wow is just how many educators are willing to learn. So I had a webinar that was held with educators in Ireland, based in Ireland, and I was expecting a few hundred, and thousands showed up for the webinar. So that was a big wow. And then the second one is more of a personal one, where we crossed 100,000 subscribers. So that's a big one.
Yeah, that is very impressive. And I mean, I've loved your videos, and always just in time. So that's awesome. Right, so next we have Adriana.
Hello everyone. So my wow moment is seeing Vip with us tonight. You are sorely missed here in Kuala Lumpur, Vip, so it's lovely to see you. And as James says, you are a legend here in KL. I'm sure you are in Monaco now. But yeah, it's a real treat to see you, lovely. This is one of my mentors, just like James and now Sethi. Yeah, that is one of the ones who put me onto Twitter. She's part of my Twitter tribe and just tweets out everything and anything. And yeah, we touched base on Twitter this week again, didn't we? So very lovely to see you.
Excellent.
I'm finished now.
Right, next. Thanks, Georgina.
James, you are my wow moment this week. I am just feeling so lucky to be on a team where we have awesome educators like you creating awesome tools for us. So I obviously can't share what that is yet, because obviously that's your whole thing for the show. Yes. But I'm feeling pretty grateful to be part of this team. So you are my wow moment today. Thank you for everything you did to help us. Yeah, I'm excited about using your tools today. So yay.
Brilliant. And Gary?
Hi, good evening. My wow moment was yesterday. I was invited by Bounce Back Philippines. It's a group of people who would like to get back to our normal, or to the new normal. I was invited to be the speaker for Introduction to G Suite. I know G Suite, but it was my first time to be so stressed, because as I was looking at the StreamYard, we have around 26,000 educators tuning in, watching live. And there are a lot of questions. When I try to display the question, when I press show, it's a different question, because the questions or the comments are coming in, 5 questions or comments every second. So that was my wow moment. So I was in panic. So a lot of educators are so willing to learn, and even though they have limited resources, they are trying to find a way. So I'm happy to know that they are trying to do their best to learn. That's my wow moment.
That is awesome. And Vip, what's your wow moment of the week?
Well, it's got to be this, James. I was not expecting this. Have my cup of tea and just, and listen to you all sharing everything. I was not expecting to go live.
Yeah, I always like you to step up. And first it was the Teach Meet. I thought I'd drop you in with 100 teachers. Now actually just a live YouTube session. So it's awesome. Keep on growing.
I have been using some technology in my life since I moved here. Over the last 7 weeks, I've been thinking out on all the technology and letting my kids kind of explore everything as well. This, I think, just tops it all now. This is my personal tech
Yeah, I actually think you've probably got more listeners at the YouTube Teach Meet events, but I think it's really lovely that we're able to share with so many educators, and people can drop in and pick up. And the nice thing is that these YouTubes, people can watch them back, especially if they have difficulties with connections and so on. I'm afraid Claudia has been having difficulty with connection, so she is going to watch back when she can get a better connection. So the first question we've been asked by Claudia is feedback. What are the best ways to get instant feedback, or for students to answer if they're not confident in their answers? So these are some good, tough questions. I actually think a lot of this, I'm going to go really old-fashioned on this one and say email. I don't know what other people think, but the kids who are struggling in class, in my classes, quite often send me a quiet email behind the scenes.
Okay. Well, using Google Classroom, which we, I guess, all are at the moment, and with the Google Meets as well, I'm finding feedback has never been as instant as it is at the moment. In a Google Meet, at the moment, we're running like 2-hour teaching sessions with our kids. So having that child there with me in a Google Meet, looking at what they're doing within a Google Doc or Slide or whichever platform, just being able to talk to them immediately, work, spotting kind of where they're going wrong, it's been fantastic.
Yeah, I find it even with the code, I'm finding it quite easy to check through students. It's not as quick as being in a classroom and just being able to see the kids' screens, but it's not been bad. And I think once students drop out of the questions, they feel quite comfortable to come back in and drop in. What about you, Sethi? How have you found your classes and so on?
Yeah, I think feedback is a bit, it's much harder being sort of this distance learning environment makes that instant feedback that is so powerful, much more difficult to give. So I really like the fact that, for example, when you're working within G Suite or Office 365, you can leave comments before they've even submitted their work, because I think that is so much more powerful than waiting till the end and then giving them some feedback on what you should have done differently. No, give them that feedback while they're still working so you can help them. And so what I really enjoyed is our drop-in sessions, where we sort of have, it's almost like office hours, where we have just a meeting room open and kids can just jump in and ask a question and then share what they've done. And so what we ask is just come in, show us for 5 minutes what you've done, and we'll give you some feedback immediately. But the problem is that you can't give feedback to those children that are not confident to jump in. That's the biggest, that's the biggest problem that we've noticed.
I sometimes find the text chats are quite, they're considered a low barrier, particularly if it's on the Google Docs chats. So the Google Doc chat, because you're actually discussing and giving comments and sending back, and the kids will often put comments for themselves, like, I'm not sure about this. And
the at mentions as well, because this works across, I mean, this works in G Suite, it works in Microsoft Teams. At mentions have become just something that is available in most online platforms where collaboration is. So just mentioning those kids so they get notified, so they jump back in, and it does make a difference.
Georgina, what are your thoughts?
We found that the Meet live stream was super successful. A little bit kind of like this YouTube session that we're having, where our viewers can put comments in the chat and we can answer them live. We found that that was working out really good, because students still, if they're feeling a little bit shy or not quite as confident, they don't have to be in the limelight in the Meet, but they can just type on the sideline, but they're still getting that immediate feedback from us. So that worked really well. Exactly what Adrienne is saying, yes. And also the Google Slides Q&A was another one that was pretty successful for live feedback, and Office Spaces. So if schools were using Office Spaces, that we had really good feedback in the region that was successful. So people would like hold their questions or concerns post-lesson to ask the next day or whenever the next office hour was. That's good.
Excellent. Sethi?
Yeah, just on that, what I really, I didn't know about this feature. It's brand new. It's within Zoom when I was holding the webinar. When you've got the webinar feature, you can turn on the Q&A, and people can now upvote questions. So, so for example, we had a couple thousand people in the webinar, and because they were able to upvote questions, we saw the questions that sort of were really on everyone's mind come to the top. which I was thinking that is such a powerful feature. So I'm definitely going to put that in as a feature request for other chat platforms and other platforms, because I love
I don't think that's a free facility. I think you have to buy the conference module or something, right?
Yeah, well, it's free. It's free till the end of the summer.
Okay.
After you have
cool.
to get more premium.
Yeah. And the poll, is it the poll or is it something different?
This is different. So polling is part of that. The upvoting of questions, Q&As within webinar. Because the webinar was with over 1,000 people, you needed that sort of upscale version.
Excellent. Right.
Can I just add one more thing? I know our science teachers are making a lot of use of Loom. So kids are handing in work, maybe in a Google document, and the teacher is just recording oral feedback with Loom, sending that to the child. And then the great thing is that on the dashboard, teacher is able to see whether the child has actually looked at the feedback or not. That has been a real good tool.
And Loom is permanently free for teachers now, right? So that's really good.
Yeah, and for EAL and SEN kids.
Yeah. In terms of audio feedback, does anybody have any favorites? I mean, it's not my favorite because I type quicker than I can talk.
We found Moat. I don't know if you guys have tried out Moat yet, but they just upgraded the feature, I think, yesterday. And that's working really good, as well as the audio feedback in the Cami extension. So it's also free for schools right now. It's paid after, but if you are trialing it, then that's working really good as well. I wanted to talk about, just to answer this question too, about the collaborative feedback. So sometimes when we think about how are we giving feedback to students, we sometimes look at from the educator giving the feedback, but I'm sure you all are experts and know that students can give each other feedback too. So one thing that we saw really popular in the primary schools was that if a session or a lesson was being given, for example, on a Jamboard or a Google slide where each student could have their own slide, the teacher could then announce like, okay, now it's collaborative feedback time, and they would go and pick another slide, or this teacher would assign odd number slides or an odd number jam slide, and the students could give each other feedback. So that was really positive, and it engaged the students a lot more as well.
Awesome. So that's a really nice set of answers there, really, and quite a lovely set of tools. So the next one I'm going to ask, and this one is another little challenge one, more for the tech coaches, best and most interactive tools for instructions during the time for teachers that may not have tech know-how. Okay, Seti.
It's a hard one because you're saying may not have tech know-how, but there is something it's techy, but it's super easy to learn, and it's instant learning, and it basically allows you to take any website or any online source that's already there and turn it into a full lesson. And it's as easy as just clicking on the icons, insert a note, insert an audio note, insert a voice note, insert a video into a website, and then you share that with your students. So yes, it's a bit techy, but whenever I've shared it with teachers that are sort of not big fans of educational technology in general, they have just fallen in love with it and they've jumped on it. And it's so easy to pick up. It's a bit like Loom, where you can do screen recordings, and really, sometimes you're a bit worried, like, is this going to be too complicated? But now once you've done it once, it becomes really easy.
What was the tool's name?
What's that?
What's the tool's name?
Insert Learning.
Insert Learning.
I'll pop it in.
Thanks.
So let me just get that up onto the banners.
Okay, while you're typing that.
Adriana's having a weak connection, but if her connection gets better, I hope she'll be able to join us live. There's plenty of space for her, always is. But yeah, Flipgrid's another excellent tool. Again, I don't think this is particularly technically demanding, because I've run it in workshops, and let's just say I've had teachers who are not the most technical, and they've had no real problems with it. Only problem is it is a bit of a bandwidth gobbler. But yeah, good call there, Adriana. Gary, your turn.
Yeah, since you asked for something for teachers who doesn't have much technical skills, I go back to the old style. So since we have the camera, if let's say if you want to verify if they are listening or if they get the instruction, they just give a thumbs up. Or if you have a multiple type of question, instead of ABC, 1, 2, 3, or 4. So that's how you do it. Very simple.
Absolutely. Yeah,
So
you should never ask ABCD questions. It should always be 1, 2, 3, 4. It's
I'd like to call out. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's 1, 2, 3, 4. You've all got fingers. It's the cheapest interactive device going. Georgina, you're cool.
I was going to call out a strategy as a tool. I was going to call out the EdTech coaches. I found that anytime I was able to jump in a live session and support a teacher live, it helped them build their confidence, just knowing that there was someone else there to support the back end or to jump in it as a filler. You know, sometimes there's that 10-second delay with the live streams. And it just, you know, being there for them for a session or to do a practice run before they do a live lesson just gives them that extra little boost to take it on board. So sometimes that's all they need, just a little booster, eh?
Yeah. And Vip, your thoughts?
Like for a live lesson for my early year teachers, they have to be Seesaw and Flipgrid. And actually also not in a live lesson as well for some of those early years, Seesaw just works so well that the child can complete the work, teacher can send the comments, and again, it could be an oral comment or it could be a written comment, and lovely interactive tasks as well. For the older ones, it has to be a combination of Google Slides with pair decks and quizzes, where you can kind of teach your lesson, give all your instructions, but then get the child engaging with you using a pair deck slide. And they've got so many amazing templates there. And I think now they've also included audio instructions, which is, again, a real help when we're thinking about our EAL and SEN kids. And then just bringing in nice quizzes as well for a little bit of repeated practice, finding out what they've actually understood, who needs help there as well. So those three, I would say, are pretty easy to use, but really powerful with what they give you, the data that they give you about the learning.
Awesome. And I noticed that Mr. Chris has said co-teaching has been fantastic. Can I also welcome Davis? I don't know how much you've been following along, but we've been talking about tools that are great for interactivity for teachers who might be less technically minded. Have you got any thoughts on that, Davis?
Not at the moment. I'll pitch in when I have a thought.
Okay, great.
Actually, one more thing. I saw that Adriana left a similar comment is Google Classroom. Google Classroom has been brilliant just because it's been such an easy tool to use and everything's in one place. We've had, I mean, not to name sort of specifically which department, but there is a part of our school that is not using Classroom. And by far, they are struggling the most at the moment because they hadn't, fully adopted Google Classroom, whereas the other departments had. It's so much easier sharing your live links, sharing information, sharing documents, sharing, we have these other platforms like Firefly and all these, but the ones that are using Google Classroom, they're not getting lost. They're not losing links. They're not losing passwords, logins. They're not losing their documents. It's all in one place. The only thing we had to do when we were sort of just getting started with Classroom was make sure that everything has a topic. So when you're giving assessments or assignments or anything really, that you make sure that you actually attach a topic to that so that it's easy for students to find it. But Google Classroom has been brilliant.
I mean, I have a slight confession to make that before I joined Garden, I had no clue what Classroom was or how it worked or anything. And so I decided to nag my tech coach at the time, which probably in that direction now. And I said, look, I'm not going to be code. Give me special lessons. I need special needs. And she was like, 1 week later, I'm like, yeah, you're right.
It looks scary, but once you open it up, it's very, intuitive. It makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It is fair. And the thing is, it is probably the simplest they can possibly make it. And I really like that about Google Classroom. I haven't used the Microsoft equivalent, so I can't compare exactly. But I know compared to Firefly, it's super simple. Definitely.
Yeah, the user interface is the best thing for the younger learners, especially, and it's or for any learner. I think that's the beauty of G Suite for Education, is that it's just such an easy tool to pick up regardless of your level of education technology. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. We're going to move on to the next one, and the next one's a little bit more specialist, but having your combined brain power is there. Text-to-speech platforms, what would you recommend to be the best platform? And I suspect it's Microsoft and OneNote and Word and the gang, because their text-to-speech has come a long, long, long way. Anybody going to praise me on that one? I've got my card deck of tools, and I reckon that's hard to beat. Siri, maybe?
None.
On the iPad, the accessibility tools are pretty good, right? There is a text reading function. Have you used it a bit, have you?
I have to be honest, using it here, but I have them.
Yeah.
Sorry, Seti, does Insert Learning offer a text-to-speech feature? Sorry, Seti? I thought Insert Learning was offering a text-to-speech offer.
Sorry, you're breaking up a bit.
Yeah, sorry. Does Insert Learning have a text-to-speech feature?
Oh, I'm not sure if it does. If it does, I haven't used it. I know there's another tool that I've used before. What was it again? I think it was Kaizena, it was okay, but I think the other the built-in functionality of many of the platforms has gotten so good that I've actually stopped looking elsewhere. Like, for example, the slides. When you look at Google Slides, the closed captions, and they're getting really good. It's still not ideal, and it's still not what it should be. But I'm impressed with what's happened in the last say 10 months. Just because it's all the same engine, isn't it? They get all this practice on YouTube with their closed captioning. So the AI is learning constantly, and then they can implement that in all their other platforms. And so it's been constantly getting better.
Yeah, I've noticed with Google Meet, the text-to-speech feature there, just picks it up so well.
Yeah, I think we are looking at text-to-speech this time round rather than the other way around. On the iPad, I have used it before, and the Apple built-in stuff is really powerful. They really do support. And when I did my ADE in Cork, one of my friends who was there was fully blind, and it was just incredible how much she could use that iPad. And the interface was completely different. She had a full text speech system, and she could talk back, and so it worked both ways. Siri was talking one way, and the iPad was talking the other, and it was just incredibly effective. But I think in general, text-to-speech, I think the Microsoft Word stuff is generally very good. Within the iPad, I think the stuff built into iOS is spot on. So I'd say those are probably the two options. There was something else, though. I can't remember. There was another app that was being charged for, but I can't remember it for the life of me. Anybody remember? They were a sponsor of some of the tech events. No, it's gone. Oh, well.
You're thinking of Read Write?
Could be, yes, I think so.
The build,
Read,
I mean,
write.
has anyone, sorry, yeah, read and write, but I haven't used that.
That's the problem.
Has anyone played around with the new Edge browser?
No.
Because the new Edge, so the Microsoft build on top of the Chromium, that one actually has a built-in text-to-speech, just built right into the menu, and it works really well. It works really well because Microsoft have been really good at pushing out all these accessibility tools, and their built-in text-to-speech tool built into the Edge browser is just brilliant.
Okay, that's good.
If we remember, if you remind me later, I'll demo a little thing that they've got in the Edge browser that is just, it's going to blow your mind.
Oh, fantastic. I look forward to that. We seem to be having a good session here. So quite a few things there. So the next one is the more general accessibility features. Any key accessibility features we're using? Captions on slides, Zoom recording, YouTube, anything else? I think we've mentioned Edge. Any others come to mind? Stony silence. I think we've caught most of them actually right there, right? Seti?
Yeah, I actually think the one that I wanted to show later, but I mean, I'm happy to show now, which
Yeah, why
is
not?
for the for people that are visually impaired and might struggle. There are some built-in tools, and now especially within Edge, which is built on top of Chromium. That is just, yeah, I mean, you've got to see it to just see what I mean. Let me just see if I can share my screen.
Okay, you should be able to.
Yeah, it shouldn't be an issue. Let me just try and get this open. Right, so you should see my screen now. Do you see this?
Yeah, see it.
Yep.
Right, I usually do use Chrome. However, for this is built within Edge. And so I'm now on the BBC page, and as you can see, it's quite distracting. There's a lot going on here. But what they've got is here at the top now, you'll see that they've got the immersive reader. Now, the immersive reader has become part of Edge.
Oh, awesome.
When you click on that, it not only cleans up everything, but this is what's going to blow your mind. It's got first of all, it's got read aloud. You can read out the entire page.
Oh, brilliant.
Coronavirus lockdown. Who break the rules.
Oh, even highlights as you go along. Oh, that's brilliant.
And it doesn't even sound like a computer. Like, it is brilliant. But you can also change the voice. So let's say that she's going a bit too fast, slow her down, speed her up. If you don't like her voice, there are literally dozens of voices available. Now, you can just dive in, change it to whatever you want it to be, and then again, read aloud. That's just one part of it, because the part that really got me for sort of visually impaired or people that are easily distracted like myself is your text preferences. So here I can now change the text size of this website. I can even increase the text spacing. So as you can see, the text spacing is now much bigger and it's easier to read. I can also change the theme, the entire theme of the page. So for those that prefer a dark mode, lots of different colors, choose whatever works best for you, whatever's easiest for you to read, because we're all different. Everyone's different. It's just not going to happen that one thing works for everyone. And then you've got your preferences. Now, the preferences, you can turn these on, and this is where you can focus on 1 line at a time, 3 lines at a time, or 5 lines at a time. And then as you're reading, you can just scroll down the page and really focus on what you're reading.
Wow.
I mean, this is just mind-blowing what you've got here.
And I would also say with the new Microsoft Edge, you can keep all your Chrome extensions because it's based on Chromium.
Exactly. And then here you've got your grammar tools. So you can even break up your words into syllables to make it easier, highlight your nouns, highlight verbs. I mean, this tool is really built for schools. I really wanted to show this because I love it. And so once you've set it up, you can even dive into read aloud now. And there you go. Everything is highlighted. It goes through it.
Image copyright.
And it's just
images.
It works like a charm.
That is absolutely superb. So yeah, I think we've covered most of the accessibility features, unless anybody can think of anything else. The next one is a classic and one that I actually did quite a lot of work on with Gary the other day. So now he's a superstar. We did that presentation in the Philippines, didn't we? Talking about tracking progress.
Sorry.
Gary, we talked about tracking progress on our conference in the Philippines the other day.
Yes. So we had a lot of advice coming from you, which is good for tracking. Any other recommendations?
I think the ones I would add are Edpuzzle. I think that's really useful. The insert learning, which we've already mentioned, is very good for helping on the web pages. Google Forms is my absolute go-to, though, realistically. the new, oh, there is one more. What would you say, Seti, is the best drawing tool at the moment for kind of shared whiteboards online?
Oh, there's many options. It really depends on what you're trying to do. I still use the absolute basics because I don't need all the advanced tools. So I stick to Jamboard and Canvas and sort of very, very basic things because I usually just draw out a little, just a scribble, really, or a doodle. But if you need more advanced stuff, I mean, proper whiteboarding, I mean, Miro is the one that jumps to mind, but it's not free. But if you're looking for a fully online, collaborative whiteboard with all the functionality you can think of, Miro, that's the one.
Okay, yeah. There was that other one, Flipboard that allowed lots of students to work at the same time.
Yes, yeah. So there's a couple available.
There's also Explain Everything. Explain Everything. You can collaborate with students all together at the same time, and the board actually grows. And there's voice as well, audio that you can add to it. So that's really popular. There's also whiteboard.fi. And then the students.
Oh, that was the one.
Yeah. Oh, that's the one you're thinking about? Okay.
Yeah.
Whiteboard.fi is really good because the students don't know who's doing the writing. So if they would like to keep themselves, confidential, it's just a different way to do it. It's really nice.
Also, you can save the images. So, I mean, they don't make it very clear on their website, but when you right-click on your student's work, right-click and then you save the image as, and you can keep a record of that.
Oh, I didn't know that actually. That's good.
Whiteboard.fi, it just disappears. And I like that you don't have to register. You don't have to get student accounts. You just share that link. They jump in, you do the activity. But you can right click and save the images. So if you want, as a teacher, to have a record of what they've done, you can do that.
I also really like the app called Show Me. Have you heard about the Show Me app? It's not a web, an online one, but it's you can draw in it and you can insert backgrounds. It's probably the first one that I started out with a few years ago when I was using my iPad for whiteboarding, and you can record the screen as well. But what I really like about it is if you don't want to fork out the money to pay for the recording features, you can just turn on the screen recorder on your iPad or your mobile device and you can record it as you go. So it's a nice mobile alternative that's free.
Actually, that makes me think of a comment. I got a comment on my channel this week asking about engineering drawings, and there was someone who was looking for a way of drawing the engineering drawings for their lessons and record the actual drawing of the line. And that made me think of Keynote immediately, because when you're doing things in Keynote now, one of the animations available is that it actually draws the way you draw or that you write. And so the Keynote would be perfect for that.
Yeah, I agree. Keynote's brilliant. And the other thing that I was thinking of, but don't quote me off the top of my head, I think it's the Google Draw or Google AI Draw. And there's another one, I have to get it up, that has for students, for earlier students, younger students, where they can doodle and it turns their image. It must be an AI one. I can't think of the name. Maybe you guys know it off the top of your head. They draw on it, and then there are AI options that populate at the top. I think I covered it in one of my
I think it was auto draw, wasn't it?
Auto draw, maybe that's it. Yeah.
But
and so it's
in
good
terms
for
of assessment.
That's it. And also for our students who need the extra support, right? Like our SEL students, our inclusion students who don't necessarily have the fine motor skills as well to be able, even just the younger learners, then it'll give them the option and have that visual recognition for them. It's really good.
They've actually got that built into Book Creator as well now, because we had, I had some students, EAL students, and they were also struggling sort of with fine motor skills, and they, so typing just made more sense for them. And so they wrote out their entire story and they typed it up in Book Creator, and then the doodles or the drawings that they wanted to add, the illustrations, they had that auto draw functionality built into Book Creator, so they could sort of scribble and then say, yeah, that's what I was trying to draw. And they just clicked on it and popped into the book.
Following on from that, I think Seesaw is still an excellent tool because it tends to get used in lower primary, but actually students using it can go all the way up.
Yeah.
And it's an easy tool to use, and it's designed with younger students in mind, so it should be relatively easy to do. So I think those are the key ones, are they? Any more?
I personally really. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Davis.
Yeah, there's also a quick draw from Google that you know it you can kind of like train the AI that's behind that particular platform, and then you draw something that. So it tells you what to draw, and then you try to draw it, and then it will guess what you have drawn.
I would like AI to fix my drawing skills, period. That would be fantastic for me.
Yeah, tell me about it. I use the NAM project more than I could.
Writing, for that matter.
Oh, yes, that's true. That is very true.
I really, I would like to shout out Adobe Creative Cloud. I have really been enjoying my journey with Adobe Fresco. You could use the pastels, oil painting, watercolors, and if you have like an iPad and with an Apple Pencil, it actually senses the pressure of your brush just like you were painting on a canvas. It's absolutely brilliant. So for someone like me with like zero drawing skills, it's really enabled me to be able to learn without having to have the paints and the water and the tools there. But what I really love best about digital art, or the learning part of it, is with the layers, because if I need to erase something after I've painted it on a piece of paper, well, that's very difficult to do, right? But if I do it digitally, it's easy to take that layer and just remove it completely without ruining the rest of the picture. So for myself, someone who doesn't have great art skills, this ability to learn digitally, the other way around has been a really godsend for me. It's really awesome. I'm really enjoying it.
Very nice. The next question that we have is, I seem to have lost things a bit. Yeah, reward and praise. So reward and praise, any recommendations for online reward systems or praise or accumulative of nature? Now, I do have one tool that comes to mind. Does anybody remember flippity.net?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that has a badging system, which is great. And I used to use it a lot with year 7s. But then I went and built an entire system, so I didn't need it anymore. But I think it's a really handy tool for just ad hoc setting up badges and putting badges in and just giving those rewards out quickly. You've got to be careful on the privacy, though. Keep it to initials or first names, because it's not perfect on privacy. So you have to be a bit careful, because it's full on display of websites and fairly, unlisted websites and so on. That's the one I can think of. What other systems do we think of for praise?
Personally, for me at the moment, what kids want is if they work really hard, it's just for us to finish the lesson 10 minutes early. So if they're in on time, and if we've got everything covered, then it takes 10 minutes and we finish the lesson a bit early. Because it is a long block, about 2 hours.
Okay.
And they just appreciate just finishing a little bit early before going on into the next lesson.
Yeah. I mean, Clash Dojo is popular, but some of the kids were getting so excited they were after points no matter what. So we've had a few problems with that in our school. But I think if it's used well, I think it can be a fantastic system, right?
I like having students create their own reward system. So like it allows them to take ownership of how they would like to be rewarded for progress and their efforts in class. So in our creative media classes, students can design their own badges using the Adobe tools or Google Drawing. So recently, since we went into COVID, distance learning closure, not all students with their devices at home were able to download the Adobe software on every device. But Google Drawing has proven to be such a powerful tool that even myself, I hadn't given it enough credit for. But having students design their own badges has been really successful.
And also, as well as other tools, Inkscape 1.0 has just come out, and it's much, much better than the old one. Much, much better. It's not Illustrator, but it's like halfway there, and it's definitely the one you'd want when you want to spare a bit of drawing. So it's really handy, but it has improved hugely over the last 18 months, and the speed of drawing is much, much better. But as I say, it's not quite Illustrator, but it runs on an older PC as well, which is handy.
Have you looked into Krita?
What's that? Krita? No.
Krita. That will come really close to Illustrator. If you're looking for something that comes even closer to Illustrator than Inkscape, that might be the one that you want to look into. Okay. They've got a free and a premium, but the free I've found it works just fine. The premium features a sort of more higher resolution exports and things like that. But yeah, I've been shouting this for years. David knows because I saw some smiling. Google Drawings, like keep it simple.
Right?
Google Drawings. Yeah. It is vector based. It is simple, easy to use, and you can do a lot with Google Drawings. And whatever you can't do with Google Drawings, pull it into Canva and rearrange your things, and then you're fine. Yeah. So it's.
I mean, even Keynote and PowerPoint, they actually have a fantastic set of vector tools already. The only annoying thing is that you draw one thing and then it wants you to do it again and again and again and again. So but yeah, I think those are all great tools.
Even animations in PowerPoint. I mean, PowerPoint, when you look at it now, it's nothing like what it was 5-10 years ago. You've got crop animations that some video editors don't even have, and you can do it in PowerPoint, which is like, what is going on?
I have seen some super awesome GIFs with Google Slides as well. Did you like GIFs that you can create floating around Twitter and classrooms? Also, I gave that to my digital leaders in secondary. They enjoyed creating those.
And actually, those slides is a great place to put badges, because you can put your badges on, and as they acquire them, the kids can see them, and you can have one slide per kid. And I think that's a really powerful mechanism. Again, something I used in the past because it's a great way to encourage kids to do what you want. And instead of giving a kid 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10, 3 out of 10, giving them a series of badges, building them up is a far more powerful way of marking and giving that feedback. Because if you get the bronze badge, you're then working towards the silver. So it brings it back to formative. Any more thoughts from anybody?
I do have a question. Well, do you guys create like an automated way to give out badges, or do you just like do it manually?
I do.
Can you share a little bit about that, James?
Yeah, it's using lots of sheets formulae, and when they hit certain targets, it automatically does it. It's quite a lot of formula, and if you're scared of doing things like putting images, if commands and things like that, I wouldn't even dare touch it. I would say flippity.net is probably the best easy-ish one to do.
So what James is actually saying is just email him and he'll help you out.
Exactly.
Wait a few months and he'll go and he'll create something and then release it. And
well, flippity.net already does it. I mean, it's very good. My system is really for coding, and it's quite specialist. I've had more than a few teachers freak out when they've seen the back end of it, so I've learned to there's a lot of spaghetti code in there, but it is what it is. And I would recommend for other teachers who want to know how to do it, flippity.net does most of the heavy lifting for you, which is handy. But if you want to learn a lot about if formula and spreadsheets and that kind of thing, I am happy to talk to you about it for hours. I don't normally get many offers on that, so I don't push it. But talking of tools, I'm just going to lose the banners for a minute or two. Hang on. Oops. Okay, I think we're down to banners. One of the things I have been worked on while we've been on lockdown, particularly over the Easter holidays and stuff, is a tool to really help EAL and SEN students and really just help take things to the next level a bit. So I've made this tool and I'm launching it today, and I thought I would share it with you guys first. So I'm doing my best. Let's see, Chrome tab would be handy, and that would be nice. So,
James, you really need to work on, sprucing it up a little bit. You did a rocking job with this. Come on, man.
Okay, yeah. So what this tool does is once you load it up, you get all the instructions just to tell you a bit about what it does. And these are the instructions. Once you've had a read, you're happy with them, I normally just throw them in the bin. But if you need it back about RDTP, we'll bring them straight back so you can have another look at them. But it's nice the first time to have a go. Now, I personally, I have a dream, and here's a speech some people may have heard of before. One out of my people alpha testing had heard of this speech before. It's by Martin Luther King Jr. and really famous in the 70s. But one of the things about it is it's a really powerful, important speech in American history. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's an easy speech for second language learners, maybe people coming across from Mexico, maybe Spanish or Portuguese or another language is their first language. So when you get something like this, you want to teach it, and you want to teach it with the full rich flavor. But how do I know what the difficult words are? So what I want to do is I want to have a look. Okay, the first thing I want to do is try the difficulty guide. Now this difficulty guide, at first I put a bunch of stats in there, and then I realized that's not intuitive for people to understand. So what I've done is had a look. Now, if you know what the flesh score is, that's based on length and things like that, and you can click on that and have a look at the details. But basically, if it's bad, it means your sentences are way too long. And it actually says that if that's the case. The vocabulary difficulty, what I've done is put in all the words needed for EAL learners. So you can see there's plenty of beginner words here. These are things like the most common words in English, and the difficult words. And you can see where that challenging vocab highlights are there. You can also see a time, and it's based on an hour clock. So this would take 12 minutes if it was in easy English. And I think that's nice for you to see. Now, yeah, okay. So what are these low frequency words? Well, if I click on this, I can find them all. And you can instantly, as a teacher, have a quick look. You can look at the definition, the synonyms, and an image potentially. And this really just helps you along. So let's have a look at the definition of something. It takes you straight in. So you can look at that and say, is that easy, difficult, maybe a little bit? But, you know, as an EAL teacher, I'm not sure that's quite the easiest, laziest option of doing things. Because what I would really like, and would really save me a lot of time, is if it made a table for me and allowed a lookup. So all I actually have to do is add the low frequency table. It makes it for me. And it includes the lookups in the dictionary. So now we can have a look at this straight away. Oh, okay, now it's going to become quite a long dictionary. But you can now see these words, and if the lookup is good enough, that's good. But if you want to give some extra notes and help, then that's really good. Equally, if you do have EAL students, you might want to simplify that language. And these tools hopefully give you a really good head start. And in this case, what you might want to do is just go in there and highlight all of those difficult words and say to yourself, is there a simpler word? And I say this will come through in a second or two, running everything at the same time. You can see I've instantly highlighted all the difficult words, and you can say, well, maybe this is an adjective or something I get rid of. Now, I don't want to do this to this speech because it's an amazing speech, but in normal day-to-day talk, you probably would want to simplify this. But I think it's still useful to say, well, actually, we know these are difficult words, and an EL student, it's okay to leave it. But if you don't want to leave it, of course, you can switch it off and unhighlight it. So hopefully these tools really help EAL students, but they help general classroom teachers to get a really good idea and tell students what is going to be the difficult stuff and what's going on.
I think he might have closed the wrong Chrome tab there. So we're just going to wait for James to pop back in and we'll carry on. So that's the demo of his RDPT tool. So we've got the reading difficulty power tool demo now. I know he's been working on that for a long time. Ah, he's back. There he is.
Yeah. Too many clips.
How long did it take you to build that entire thing?
Yeah, quite a lot of time to do it, really. I mean, I've had these holidays, weekends, spare time, whatever's left, really. Since Final Fantasy VII game finished, I've had no PlayStation time whatsoever. Amazing what you can do, you know.
See, when given time, the things that people end up creating.
It's something bad.
Yeah. So hopefully it really helped. And, you know, at the moment I'm alpha testing it. Once I'm happy enough, there's a few things I'd want to clean up and check what features are there. But I think it's a good enough tool now for you to get a flavor and have a real play with it and hopefully share it with people. Please, in the alpha stage, encourage them to go to the website. Pardon?
Do you have a link for it if anyone watching right now would like to have a go at trying it?
Absolutely. Here it is.
Brilliant.
And so that's the link. Please do try it. Sign up for the alpha. Give it a go and have a play with it. And as I say, once I feel it's good enough and it's got the features that people need, then I will just leave it for people to have a go and play with it. It is a tool 12 years in the making in one way, because I made those weird lists a long time ago when I was an EAL teacher, and they've been sitting on my hard drive doing basically nothing for ages. And then I thought, hang on a minute, classroom teachers might appreciate this, and it might be time for me to work out how to do this in GScript. So yeah, that's what I started doing. It was inspired by one teacher who, let's just say, they put quite a lot of difficult vocab, and I thought to myself, they need to know what high frequency words are, you know. So they're quite clear on it. And this tool just makes that really obvious to every teacher, particularly if you've not had the EAL experience. I know a lot of international teachers, we're used to teaching EAL kids, and for many of us, it's been part of our job for a long time. But for other teachers who are new to EAL or new to SEN, this just helps really highlight those keywords and hopefully gives you an opportunity to simplify things, especially as you've got to do it on distance learning. So this is designed for that moment.
I think it's amazing. I think what you've put together there is just, it's brilliant. I had to play with it today.
Oh, good.
It works really well. It's surprising how quick those scripts run, because I was expecting them to take forever, because obviously those lists, they're massive. And
most of them are done with a lot of cheeky shortcuts. The only thing that's a bit slow is generating the spreadsheet, but I am working on a speedier routine for that, but it's never going to be real time because I have to put in requests to Google, and unfortunately I'm not top of their priority list when it comes to
No.
I don't know why.
Are you eventually going to release it into the web store, or is it going to remain a separate script?
For now, it'll be a separate script. I will look into putting it into the Chrome store, but I hear it costs me money to give away a free tool, which doesn't sound ideal. But I think the way it is right now, it's pretty easy. It's just that updates. That's why I'm asking for everybody for their emails, so I can let them know when they do updates, especially while it's in alpha. Once, you know, it's basically okay. I don't care if people use the old version or come back once in a while. It is free and open source, and you know, Adam in particular has already been giving me some hints and tips on best coding practice and that kind of thing. So that's been great, and a big shout out to him because he's been great. And we've had some great people, and hopefully I've highlighted everybody who's been really helping. There's more credit to be given when you give good hints in the alpha. But yeah, do try it. Do send it around to your most verbose members of your teams, because they're the ones who probably need it the most. And hopefully the summary part of it gives you a good way in. Say, look, let's try this out. It also depersonifies it. If you want to give somebody feedback, let's give it a try. Let's see what this automated tool does, and then you can argue with it, rather than say, you're using really low frequency language, get it sorted. That's not going to go down too well. You know, so hopefully it helps, and hopefully it encourages and shows what language is going on.
I'm really excited to start it.
Yeah.
Have you got a goal for your alpha testers, or in terms of sort of numbers of people that you'd like to get?
Honestly, I've already met it. You know, there's you know, share it out with a few more people, but I'm very happy with the number of people and just making sure it works. And I will be emailing in a few weeks' time to make sure that it works. But feedback so far is that it works. There's a few optimizations here. I'm sure there'll be a few feature requests and so on. And then I'll just roll it out under beta and see how it goes.
Brilliant.
So hopefully Claudia stayed on for that. She's also been given a copy. Vip, I sent you a copy this morning, very early. So have a feel. I know it's quite early in Monaco, but you know, share with your teams. But do those people who are not victims, please do encourage them to go to the alpha, because then they can contribute and be awesome.
It's really good.
Thank you.
Are you going to change it to studied understand different languages at any point as well?
That would require somebody with the word list for those languages. So I would require native speakers of those languages to do that. And it would effectively become a different program each time. So if anybody is keen and has an understanding of those things, then yeah, it's possible. But it requires a true understanding. So I'd need the French as an additional language and Chinese an additional language and so on and so forth. But I don't have those skills, and you would need those EAL experts in those languages to do it. I mean, this is born out of a piece of research I did for Taylor's University ages ago. Never quite got around to publishing. I did publish a few bits and pieces, but yeah, so that's the way it goes. Yeah, so it should be. Yeah, so yeah, list-wise, English is easy for me. Other languages, I would need those people with that expertise to help. So if you know people at the various universities or teachers with those experience, then that would be great. Yeah, it is challenging. And I wouldn't release it without somebody else's name on that, because I wouldn't feel confident. I had a book translated into Thai of mine, and I have no clue what it says in Thai. So I just trust the guys at Marshall Cavendish did an awesome job. So that's the way.
It's always the way, right? We want to share something and promote it, and it comes out in another language, and you're like, man, I hope this is okay.
Yeah, well, it is open source, so anybody can have a go. Yeah, all you have to do is change the word lists.
Well, congratulations, James. I'm so impressed that I know somebody who's created something as cool as this, and it is definitely going to help students, and I am going to be using it next week, and I will let you know.
Awesome. So next week, your wow moments would be great for feedback. If it's good, you can say it on the show. If it's bad, you can give it to me privately, and I'll cry.
I love how much is coming out of this show. First, we've got Eric and his product, and now we've got yours, and it's just one after another. Impacting education. I love it. When
I have a chance to talk to Eric, I'll talk about what the process is to get it on the onto it. But it definitely wasn't as easy as click, here we go. You've got to go through a few hoops. So I'll talk to Eric and see what's involved. I know Alice Keeler told me straight up, don't do it. So so I don't want to go against her advice unless Eric knows better or knows the shortcuts.
No pressure for the rest of us, to create one next month or anything.
You know, it's all there. But you know, that's the whole point.
He just found out after being in the web store for months. He found out that actually, because his product is a product for education, everyone using it and everyone downloading it is not able to leave reviews because they can't leave reviews in the web store. So basically his app is being used by everyone, but it's not getting any reviews.
Honestly, the kids might want to give it a lot of 1-star reviews if it starts showing stuff up. So it probably works both ways. But we know teachers think of it as 5-star. And I think in terms of well-being for students, it's absolutely spot on. So that's Eric's. His is called Classwork Zoom, not to be confused with the other product that's called Zoom. Both of which are well worth having.
And a special shout out to Eric because it is his birthday this week.
Happy birthday, yeah.
He's in the back somewhere eating cake, so he's not here today.
So we gave him the night off on credit that it was his birthday week. Let's hope he's not really using it for marking, which is what he's been telling us.
He deserves to have fun.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, everybody. Let's all say goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Take care, everyone. See you next Thursday for another super special episode. Any idea what it is next week, Georgina?
I'll get back to you on that.
It's a mystery tour. They're always the best episodes. Take care then. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.